First, you're talking about the Middle East. I mean, Jesus really is a Palestinian. He was born in Gaza. So you're talking about the Middle East not getting too much rain. It's not as bad as certain parts of Africa. So the ground is really, really hard. And so you need someone with an axe or a shovel or a hammer or something to kind of break the ground. So I don't know if you've done any farming, if you've done any gardening, and if you've ever been to Roseville. That's where I used to live. And my brother, I remember, he had just bought a house in Rockland, close to Rockland. The ground was filled with rocks, and you had to really get a jackhammer. So we went to Home Depot, stole a jackhammer, and we dug like 20, 30, 40 holes. So this is how you make change. You're a young man, and your mind is no longer fresh. You have in your head all these ideas about yourself, about life, about religion, about God, right? I mean, that's a hard ground. Are you interested in this class? Mildly. Now, what is interesting is some people could be very interested, some people could not be interested, some people are just mildly interested. The only reason why you're mildly interested, first, because maybe our temperaments don't mesh, maybe the way you digest information, maybe this is just the wrong class for you because this is now you receive information. Maybe this is the way you receive information, but it's just the wrong kind of information given to you by the wrong man. But let's just say instead of mildly, would be very interested. Well, just because you're interested doesn't mean anything. The ground has no problem growing weeds out of it. The farmer wants to plant seeds that you can have like some useful vegetables. I don't know if you ever planted like a rose bush. In a few weeks, you have all these weeds just trying to suffocate the bush. So what do? You just pull them out, you destroy them. In your head, there is all these components that give life to who you are, what you are. These are the weeds. Someone from the outside needs to pull them, but you're not going to let them. So what you have in the parable of the sower is you have this guy named Jesus. He's got seeds of wisdom. Or if you were here on Tuesday, we talked about, relationships. What you should be interested in. Not so much one's body, not so much the way they speak, not so much the way they make you feel. Just look at the core, the substance that lives inside this person's life. Now, that's a good amount of wisdom that she has gained, not from books, from her own life experiences. And that's something that you don't find very often. People have a lot of book knowledge, but what they lack is practical experience. There is this kid right now on YouTube, he's gained a good amount of following. I don't know, his name is Alex something. He's like not even 30. But he goes around, trying to convince people that there is no God, there is no hell. Jesus was, just a figment of one's imagination, all this stuff. And there is nothing wrong with that, by the way. But this is a man who's never gotten cancer. He doesn't know really what pain is. This is a man who was born in the 21st century, not the 20th century. This is a man who doesn't really perhaps study capitalism and what has happened to the religion, for example, the past 600 or 700 years. His only task is to convince people that religion is just like a virus, a disease. But the truth is, if you examine anything under the sun with intense rationality and reason, nothing stands a chance, nothing. It doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter how much you love. I mean, one thing that, at least when you read the dialogues of Plato, is that Socrates always wants to know whether or not you know what you're talking about. You say you're a Christian, well, what the hell does that mean? So you're going to give me a quote, what the hell does that mean? And in the end, you realize, well, the power of reason is just far too much, far too powerful for you to just wrestle with reason through faith. It's not going to work out. And eventually, you and I will get into a fight. You'll go your way and I'll go mine. So what you have is this man named Jesus. What does he have? Well, for someone who happens to be that focused in life, his purpose is really quite simple. He wants to be a boxer, which means that he's going to spend like 10, 15 hours of the day just thinking about boxing and being in the ring and reading books about that and watching videos about that. So Jesus is a guy who just focused on wisdom, whatever that may be, and how we can give it. And now what you have in Jesus is a very, very novice, very young teacher. He says, you know what? Whenever I see a human being, I'm just going to give it to him. I had a student maybe 3 decades ago. She would always say, Amir, I have so much love to give. She had a lot of love, but she always gave that love to the wrong people. Every 10 days, she would sit somewhere, cry because someone broke her heart. So because he's a novice teacher, he assumes that if he was to plant some seeds in like a piece of wood, a 2x4, you'll have corn coming out. Doesn't happen. You say, well, maybe a 2x4 is not the best of places. Maybe I should like do it on concrete. But that doesn't happen either. Maybe I should do it like on good grounds, right? There is potential, but what you're dealing with inside every life is a volcano of stuff happening. You have your past to deal with, you have the anxiety of future to deal with, you're taking 12 units, you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you have all these fantasies in your head, and every time you say, I want to focus on the seed, your religion comes up, your parents come up, your girlfriend or boyfriend come up, your own stupid fantasies come up. There is no way the seed is going to prosper. So even though you may enjoy the seed, and even though your ground may be really, really, really good, the way you think about yourself and your life, and the way your life is just set up, it's not going to allow it. If you want to be good at anything, monogamy. And then he happens to be very lucky, and he just plants some seeds, some good ground, and there are no vultures. And one of the best ways you can get rid of vultures is what is perhaps the most intense emotion that can be inspired in us. It's not the intellect. The emotional center is the most important, and that's love. Once you fall in love with someone, other people go away. Other desires go away. The rest is just BS. And the difficulty again of that is that if you look at history, you realize the best of teachers were never really able to find good students. Socrates, one guy, Plato, 6 years of walking around. Moses ultimately looks at these people and says, Aaron, you take over, I'm leaving. Jesus in the garden, I can't do this anymore, these people suck. And when you read the Gospel of Judas, these people really, really suck. Muhammad, language and conversation has failed me. I'm just gonna grab my sword and just go out there and just chop people's head off. The Buddha, my teachings are only reserved for those who have a golden soul. Not the iron, not the bronze, not the silver, only the golden. It's only a hippie like Jesus who's able to bring together like 12 very, very crummy and novice disciples who in the end really just fail him. So teaching anything to anyone is tough. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, go teach cooking to someone who's not interested. Make him interested in cooking. You won't be able to.